One of the ways I love to use my blender is to make myself some really fresh sauces. I can do anything from curry paste to marinades, dips and pasta sauces. Today I'm just going to show you a classic basil pesto. There's no need to keep buying jar sauces at the supermarket, especially if you're needing to follow a special diet, if you're allergic to nuts or dairy, or if you need to avoid certain preservatives and additives. Making your own means that you know exactly what's in it. Today I'm sticking with a pretty classic version of a basil pesto. We have a big bunch of fresh basil, some parmesan, some garlic, lemon for acidity. I'm going to use cashews today because pine nuts are a little expensive right now. Some salt, and of course some extra virgin olive oil. There's actually so many ways that you can get creative with a pesto. You don't need to stick to these standard basics. If you don't have quite enough basil on hand or it's just not in season, one of the ways I like to bulk a pesto up is to add a bunch of spinach or kale. That way you get a bit more out of your pesto and it's packed with extra greens. If you're dairy-free or following a vegan diet, you can just leave this one out or use a vegan substitute. And if you're allergic to nuts or don't have them on hand, sometimes I like to add some toasted pepitas or sunflower seeds. Breadcrumbs also work well. So that's all we need for today. We have the recipe up on the website, so we'll link that below. I'm going to do a double batch today and use some of it to make a really nice and simple salmon and zucchini dish, and the rest I'll put in a jar and keep in the fridge for a couple of days' time. So let's get going. It's just a matter of adding all of our ingredients to the blender jug, but we'll start with our basil, which I've just given a quick rinse. I'm going to add basically all of this bunch straight into the blender jug. Now in with some garlic. I'm just going to peel 2 cloves and add them straight to the blender jug. I've got some roasted cashews here. The recipe calls for 1/4 cup, but again, I'm going to double the recipe today. Now you don't have to use parmesan, but I really like it, so I'm just going to grate a generous portion straight into the blender. Another way that I really like to flavor pestos is by adding a chili, and that adds a really nice warm heat. Now for some acidity, I'm going to just squeeze some lemon juice in. And finally, just some really good quality extra virgin olive oil. Because I've got the parmesan in here already and that's quite salty, I'm not going to add any extra salt just yet. I'll wait till afterwards, taste it and see if I need to adjust any seasonings. So I'm ready to blend this one up now. I might need to use the tamper, so that just goes straight into the lid and then on top of the blender jug. You might want a chunkier basil pesto or a runnier one, and a great way to control that is to just use the pulse function on the blender. That way you can also avoid introducing too much heat to your sauce. So after it's all blended up, take the lid off and have a taste. See if you need to adjust any seasonings. If it's not acidic enough, add a little bit more lemon juice. Mine's not quite salty enough for me, so I'm going to add a little bit of salt. If you need to adjust the texture for any reason, say it's too thick, what I like to do is to let it down with a little bit of water. And if you need to bulk it out because it's a bit too runny, I like to just add some more leaves or nuts, and breadcrumbs, as I said before, work really well. I'm happy with this now, so I'm going to put some into a clean, sterile jar and keep it in the fridge for about a week. The rest I'm going to just put into a bowl to use for our salmon dish. To showcase our basil pesto today, I'm going to throw together a really fresh and healthy lunch using a nice piece of salmon and a really fresh, simple raw salad using some really thinly sliced zucchini, some toasted nuts, some chili, and a little bit more of our pesto. good is that? There's so many things you can do with the fresh basil pesto. I'm gonna get stuck into the lunch we've just made, and I'm gonna throw that one in the fridge for next time. Make sure you give this basil pesto a try. We've put the recipe just below. Give us a like if you liked this video, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you again soon for more Luvele Life recipes.